Welcome back to another Plasticon review. Today we're going to cover something that's pretty sentimental to me. That is the Star Trek Starfleet Technical Manual. This was actually given to me by my other half's father. This is his original copy that he had back in the day, and this thing was only $6.95 back in the day. This is a really old manual. If you guys don't know anything about Star Trek, this is seriously some history. This manual itself has got a lot of awesome stuff in it. If you're really into Star Trek, I highly suggest you pick one of these up, because this is literally going back to the Captain Kirk days, back when the original Star Trek was going. I think it's amazing how it's got a couple like the silhouettes or the people with the UFP there on the front, and it's just, I love this. Yeah, this book looks a little beat up. You know what? That's fine. You know why? Because it adds prestige and makes it look great. But anyway, we're going to take a good look at this thing. I just love how this thing looks like an official manual that you would find even like being in the service or anything like that. Because I personally was in the service and I know how technical manuals look. They usually look bland like this. They don't look pretty. There's nothing crazy about them. And what's cool about this book is it's got a lot going on inside of it. This is a very old one, but I just love it so much. It's so cool. And it says right here, the first printing of this right here was 1975. This book is older than I am, which it's hard for me to find something that is ancient and awesome that's older than me, and this happens to be one of them. I love this thing, how it says United States Military Forces in here. This is such an official document typing style. I just love this thing. But it's got a lot of the introductional stuff here, which tells you what each chapter does and all that. And it goes into like the Starfleet technical orders, and it's just so cool. It's got so much information in here. If you don't get into Star Trek, I understand that, but if there's something you're really into, I happen to be one of those guys that happens to love Star Wars and Star Trek equally, although I kind of checked out after Next Generation. I didn't really get into the other ones after that. Next Generation was pretty much the end all for me when it came to Star Trek. I did like the movies were cool, but and the newer ones that J.J. Abrams was, the director of, those were cool, but they weren't nothing like the original stuff to me. I love the cheesy quirkiness of it all, but see, it's got so much information. It's insane what's in here. It's got the banners in here with all the flags. It's got some of the shield insignias here from Planetary Federation. It's got the Star Empire, United Planets, Alpha Centauri. This thing is jam-packed. And it does have some color pages in here. And it's got your uniform code colors, which tells you what their ranking would be. And then the type font for their for all the galaxy fleet markings and such, which is really neat. I know some guys out there are really into this type of thing. I myself have always been into it, but this is such a piece of history to me. I never had anything like this when I was a kid, and this is so cool. It tells you the chain of command and everything, and then it goes into the Starfleet headquarters. Kind of just tells you a little bit about the ship itself, of how things would actually be, oriented, and then it shows you the depth of it, how big the buildings were, and the size classes and such, and how they fit inside this huge hangar. It's just so neat. It's got schematics and diagrams, and it's also got things that you're dealing with the uniforms too, which is cool because there's actual patterns in here for you to create your own uniforms, which is unbelievably awesome. I love the fact that they did that, because this is an unnecessary thing. This is over the top geeky stuff, and we're talking 1975, guys. This isn't the 90s. This is not the 80s. This is the 70s, and this is so awesome. It's got so much information in here about like each ship. It tells you about all the schematics on those. It tells you about the transport containers, the markings, how everything is actually transported and stored. It just tells you so much about the universe. This book is almost a must if you're a Star Trek fan. It really is. You can tell it shows you how the shuttlecrafts are laid out. It's literally like, here's the manual, and when you join the Starfleet, you need to kind of almost memorize all this stuff, because this tells you exactly how to operate the computer systems, everything. Like, here's the navigation station, the command con, which is just, this stuff is so cool. I can't get over it. And it even tells you about the weaponry too. It even just tells you about the little hand phaser types and just all different kinds of stuff. Here's one of the hand phasers, a ray gun. This tells you all the inner working bits and pieces. And then science stuff, which gets into more of your science section, which talks about your tricorder, talks about your consoles for the ship. Even tells you about the galactic system itself, and then tells you how the ship actually maneuvers in space. There's so much here. Like, this is the most insane detailed thing ever, and I don't know if you guys have ever had one of these. If you haven't, I really kind of suggest you do. This even gets into like medical stuff, which tells you the medical, tricorder, tells you what it does, tells you what the heartbeat reader does. It's got a spray applicator here, which tells you how to heal people and monsters and all this other kind of like alien stuff. There's just so much in here. It literally teaches you almost how to be a complete like member of Starfleet, where you want to be a medical officer, commands, engineering, any of that. It's so cool, and it's got so much information in here. It's kind of insane. And I love the fact that not everything has a print on the back of it, because it's made so that way if you were that big of a geek back then, you probably would have dismantled this and took this entire thing apart. It's even got some standard graphic paper here in the back for you to be able to actually take real notes in here if you really wanted to. That is literally like what this book's about. This book is about being the ultimate geek and the ultimate Star Trek fan, and I just love this book. This book really, really speaks to me. There's nothing on the back. It's just got this nice little kind of vinyl covered piece of binding that goes around it. So if you do find these in the aftermarket, they are really, really rare to find in really good condition. Most of the time these things are pretty beat. And I just love the fact of how old this book is and the smell. I love the smell of old books too. And this is such a nice thing to get. So if you guys are a huge Star Trek fan out there, snag one of these, especially for your loved one that really is into Star Trek. I mean, this is basically a piece of history, and there's a lot of people out there that, these don't really go for a whole lot on the aftermarket I've seen, and that's okay, because they should be affordable and available to everybody as far as I'm concerned, because this is literally a piece of history, piece of science fiction history that needs a little more attention, I think. But anyway, this has been Plasticon, and this is me geeking out about Star Trek out of all things. And I'll see you guys around because I have plenty more coming your way. That's it for now.